that there was going to be a press conference at 10 a.m. Eastern on Thursday to announce 2 significant arrests in a gambling scandal relating to sports. And by the end of the show, it was out there. Chauncey Billups, the Portland Trail Blazers head coach, and Terry Rozier, Miami Heat guard.
30 NFL players. That's the number the FBI just dropped yesterday. 30. Not rookies, not practice squad guys. We're talking about names that would make your jaw drop if they were released right now. Pro Bowlers, team captains, franchise cornerstones. Guys you've got starting on your fantasy roster this week. A $7 million gambling ring that's been operating in plain sight. And the names? They're keeping them sealed for now. But here's what they're not telling you on ESPN. This isn't just about some players making bad bets. We're talking organized crime families, rigged poker games, coaches feeding inside information, and a conspiracy so deep that when those 30 names finally drop in the coming weeks, the entire NFL is going to implode. The FBI didn't just stumble onto this yesterday morning. They've been building this case brick by brick, wiretap by wiretap for over a year. And the craziest part? The NFL knew. Roger Goodell knew. They investigated back in 2023, they found smoke and they buried it. But federal agents don't play that game. So before you place another bet this Sunday, before you trust another injury report, you need to hear what really went down. Because this scandal, it's about to expose the biggest lie in professional sports.
Of high-stakes rigged poker games, where Chauncey Billups is what's known as the face card. He's the guy that draws in the fish. So what they do, they set up an entire rigged, allegedly, an entire rigged poker game.
Yesterday morning, Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern, I'm sitting there watching TV, scrolling through my phone during a break, and I see a tweet that made my heart stop. Press conference at 10 a.m. to announce significant arrests in a gambling scandal relating to sports. I literally dropped what I was doing and turned on the newsfeed. And when federal prosecutors walked up to that podium with FBI agents flanking them on both sides, you could feel the weight of what was about to drop. They announced the arrests. They wouldn't say how many. They wouldn't say chew, but they made it crystal clear. This involves active NFL personnel at the highest levels. Head coaches, star players, coordinators who are calling plays on Sunday and allegedly calling in betting tips to offshore bookmakers on Monday. The indictments? Sealed, the names, redacted. But the number that keeps getting leaked from inside sources close to the investigation? 30 active roster NFL players, 30 careers about to be destroyed, 30 families about to be torn apart, 30 names that, when they finally get unsealed in the coming days or weeks, are going to send shockwaves through every locker room in the league. And the wildest part? They're connected to organized crime. Not some local bookie operation, not some offshore website. We're talking Lucchese family, Genovese family, Bonanno family. Crime families that most people thought were extinct, like something out of a Martin Scorsese film. But federal prosecutors yesterday made a point of naming these families multiple times. They wanted everyone to know this isn't small time. This is the mob, in 2025, running NFL gambling operations. Let me break down how this whole thing worked. Because when I heard the details yesterday, my mind was blown. It all centers around a rigged poker operation that's been running for at least 2 years. High stakes, invite-only games held in private mansions, luxury hotel suites, exclusive clubs. And they would target one specific person, what they call in the gambling world, the fish. Usually some wealthy tech CEO, some hedge fund manager, some entertainment mogul who thinks he's good at poker because he watches it on ESPN and plays with his buddies on weekends. They'd make him feel special, make him think he's part of this elite club with NFL personnel, and then they'd absolutely rob him blind. But this wasn't your typical card-counting scheme. These guys had technology. According to the indictment that dropped yesterday, they were using high-tech scanning devices hidden inside the poker table itself that could read the cards as they were being dealt. Off-the-shelf equipment that you can buy if you know where to look, modified with custom software to transmit real-time data to someone off-site. That person, the prosecutors called him the operator, would then text a guy at the table who they literally referred to as the quarterback. Yeah, they called him the quarterback. You can't make this up. Not great optics when you're the NFL trying to distance yourself from gambling. But here we are. The quarterback would get these coded text messages, signals telling him what the fish was holding, whether he had a good hand or garbage. And then he'd relay that information to the other players at the table through subtle signals. A scratch of the nose, adjusting sunglasses, tapping fingers on the table. Classic poker tells, except they weren't tells. They were signals. And slowly, methodically, game after game, they'd drain this guy's bank account. One victim, according to the indictment, lost $7 million in these rigged games. $7 million gone. And he had absolutely no idea the entire operation was fixed from the start. When he finally realized what happened and went to authorities, that's when this whole thing started unraveling. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, sketchy poker games with crime families, but what does that have to do with 30 NFL players betting on games? Well, this is where it all connects, and where this scandal becomes absolutely catastrophic for the league. See, the same people running these poker operations, they were also the ones coordinating a massive sports betting scheme. And they needed inside information. They needed players who could control outcomes. Not throw entire games, that's too obvious, too risky, too hard to pull off. No, what they needed was something much simpler, much cleaner, prop bets. Think about it. If you're a starting running back and you know in advance that you're going to tweak your hamstring in the second quarter and sit out the rest of the game, and you tell your crew to hammer your under on rushing yards, that's easy money. The sportsbooks won't think twice because injuries happen every single week. Your coaches won't suspect anything because you're being cautious and protecting your health for the long season. Your teammates won't question it because they see guys get banged up all the time. And meanwhile, your boys are making tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars on a single game. Do it a few times throughout the season. You're looking at life-changing money for everyone in your circle. Your cousin who's struggling? Set. Your childhood friend who never made it out? Set. Your trainer who's been with you since high school? Set. All from you sitting out a few drives with a mysterious lower body injury that conveniently heals by next week. And according to what federal prosecutors revealed yesterday, that's exactly what was happening. Multiple times. With multiple players across multiple teams. For over 2 years. But here's what makes this so much worse, and why the NFL is absolutely panicking right now behind closed doors. The sportsbooks noticed this back in 2023. They saw the suspicious betting patterns, big money coming in on obscure prop bets right before kickoff, unders hitting at statistically impossible rates, the same betting accounts winning over and over on the same types of bets. And they did what they're supposed to do. They alerted the NFL standard procedure, right? The league says, thanks for the heads up, we'll investigate. And according to multiple sources, they did investigate. They interviewed players, they checked phone records, they talked to team personnel and medical staff. And you know what they concluded? Nothing to see here. Just coincidence. Players having bad games. Legitimate injuries. The NFL cleared everyone involved and told the sportsbooks, we looked into it. Everything's clean. It's all good. Except it wasn't good. Not even close. Because while the NFL was sweeping this under the rug and hoping it would go away, the FBI was just getting started. And what they found over the next 18 months of investigation was a criminal conspiracy that goes way deeper than anyone imagined. They found text messages. Thousands of them. Messages between players and known gambling associates. Messages between unnamed NFL coaches and offshore bookmakers. Messages between team personnel and organized crime family members. Messages that showed a clear, undeniable pattern of sharing inside information, injury updates before they hit the official report, game plan changes, personnel decisions, weather concerns, locker room drama, all being used to place bets before the public knew anything. And the prosecutors made it very clear yesterday. They have the receipts, wiretaps, bank records, Bitcoin transactions, encrypted messaging apps that they cracked. They built this case the same way you take down a drug cartel or a money laundering operation. This wasn't some quick investigation. This was a multi-year, multi-agency operation involving the FBI, IRS, and state gaming commissions. But here's where this story takes a turn that everyone's been talking about since yesterday, and why Shadir Sanders' name has been trending even though he has nothing to do with any of this. See? Shadir's been dominating headlines all season for all the right reasons. He's putting up ridiculous numbers, he's leading his team to wins, he's projected to be a top pick in the upcoming draft. The kid's got a squeaky clean image, works harder than anyone, and by all accounts has stayed a million miles away from anything that could jeopardize his future. But yesterday, when this news broke and people started speculating about which 30 players are on that sealed indictment, internet detectives went into overdrive. Someone dug up an old photo from like 2 years ago of Shadur at a charity poker tournament, a completely legitimate, above-board event where celebrities and athletes play for good causes, raising money for kids' hospitals and stuff. But because of the poker angle in this scandal, conspiracy theorists started connecting dots that don't exist. Was Shadur at one of those games? Does he know these people? Is he one of the 30? The Twitter threads started going crazy. Reddit was losing its mind. And let me be crystal clear about something right now. Shadir Sanders had absolutely nothing to do with any of this. Zero. He's not involved. He's not under investigation. His name is not on that list. Period. In fact, sources close to Shadur say he was as shocked as everyone else when the news broke yesterday morning. Here's a kid who grew up watching his father, Deion Sanders, navigate the absolute minefield of being in the spotlight, dealing with media scrutiny, handling the pressure of fame. He knows how quickly your reputation can be destroyed by association, by rumors, by being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So when he heard yesterday that 30 NFL players, guys he's competed against in college, guys he's trained with at elite QB camps, guys he's looked up to his whole life, are caught up in this federal investigation, he was absolutely floored. People are already going back through game logs from the past 2 seasons, looking at specific players who had weird statistical drop-offs, guys who suddenly got injured in high-leverage fantasy weeks, running backs who inexplicably lost carries to backups with no explanation. And they're asking questions that the NFL absolutely does not want people asking. Was that game plan? Or was that the plan? And it's not just fantasy. It's betting in general. Millions of people place legal bets on NFL games every single week. They're doing it through licensed, regulated sportsbooks, believing they're participating in a fair system where the only variable is athletic performance and coaching strategy. But if players are tanking their own stats, if coaches are leaking game plans, if inside information is being sold to the highest bidder, then what's the point? Why would anyone bet on something that's rigged? Why would anyone watch a sport where they can't trust what they're seeing? That's the existential threat the NFL is facing right now. Not just legal problems for 30 players. Not just PR headaches and media coverage, but a fundamental crisis of legitimacy that could reshape how America views professional football. And Roger Goodell, who has successfully navigated countless controversies during his tenure as commissioner, player conduct issues, concussion lawsuits, kneeling during the anthem, Deflategate, might be looking at the one scandal he absolutely cannot spin his way out of. So what happens next? Well, buckle up because this is just the beginning. The 30 names on that sealed indictment will be released soon. Could be days, could be weeks, but they're coming. And when they drop, social media is going to explode. Every fan base is going to be nervously wondering if their team's stars are on the list. Fantasy players are going to panic. Sportsbooks are going to scramble to review their liability. Coaches are going to call emergency team meetings. And the NFL is going to go into full crisis mode. There will be trials, plea deals, players cooperating and turning on each other to get reduced sentences. Some guys will fight the charges and potentially face serious federal prison time. We're talking wire fraud, racketeering, conspiracy with organized crime. These aren't misdemeanors. These are felonies that carry sentences of 5, 10, even 20 years. Careers are definitely over. Guys who were making millions of dollars, who had everything in front of them, who were living the dream, they're going to be lucky to avoid prison. Their contracts will be voided. Their endorsement deals will evaporate overnight. Their legacies will be permanently destroyed. And for what? For some quick gambling money that, in hindsight, probably wasn't even worth it compared to what they were already making. As for the NFL, they're going to have to answer some extremely uncomfortable questions under oath, probably in front of Congress. Senators and representatives are already making noise about holding hearings on sports gambling integrity. State legislators in places where sports betting is legal are talking about emergency legislation to increase regulation and oversight. There's even talk about creating a federal agency dedicated specifically to monitoring sports gambling, something the professional leagues have resisted for literally decades, but might not be able to avoid anymore. The FBI made that point pretty clear yesterday. One of the prosecutors said something like, "This investigation should serve as a wake-up call to every professional sports league. The gambling landscape has changed. The money involved has changed. And if you're not taking this seriously, you're putting your entire sport at risk." That's not just tough talk. That's a warning. That's the federal government basically saying, get your house in order, or we'll do it for you. And for young players coming into the league, guys like Shadur Sanders who are doing everything right, who are building their brands on authenticity and hard work and talent, this is an absolute nightmare. Because now, every time someone sees a young player's name, there's going to be a tiny voice of doubt. Is he clean? Can we trust him? Or is he going to be the next name on an indictment? That's unfair. That's devastating. But that's the reality of what scandals like this create. They poison the well for everyone, not just the guilty. Look, I want to be clear about something. The vast majority of NFL players are good people. They work incredibly hard. They play the game with integrity. They respect their careers and understand how fortunate they are to be living their dreams. What we're talking about here is 30 players out of nearly 1,700 on active rosters. That's less than 2%. But 2% is enough to destroy trust. 2% is enough to make people question everything they're watching. 2% is enough to create a crisis that could reshape the entire relationship between sports and gambling in America. One analyst yesterday put it perfectly. Think about how many people have access to inside information on an NFL team. Coaches, coordinators, position coaches, quality control staff, video analysts, athletic trainers, team doctors, equipment managers, PR staff, front office personnel. You're looking at 50 to 75 people per team who know exactly what's happening with injuries, game plans, player availability. That's over 2,000 people across the league with access to information that could be worth millions of dollars in the right hands. You only need one person per team with bad intentions and a burner phone to create a massive problem. That's terrifying when you really think about it. Because you can't police private communications. You can't monitor every text message, every phone call, every conversation. Players have families, they have friends, they have people they trust. And in a moment of weakness, greed, or desperation, someone might share something they shouldn't. And suddenly, you've got a federal investigation. Some people are arguing that the only real solution would be to ban prop bets entirely. Make it illegal to bet on individual player performances. You could still bet on game outcomes, point spreads, team totals, but no more betting on whether a specific quarterback will throw for over or under a certain number of yards. No more betting on whether a running back will score a touchdown. No more betting on whether a receiver will catch more than 5 passes. Eliminate the temptation entirely by removing the bet type that's easiest to manipulate. But that's not going to happen. The prop bet market is way too lucrative. Sportsbooks make enormous amounts of money on player props because casual bettors love them. They make every game more exciting, give fans more ways to engage, create more action. So instead, we're stuck in this impossible situation where everyone knows the system is vulnerable to manipulation, but nobody wants to give up the billions of dollars it generates. And that's where we are right now. 30 players about to be exposed. $7 million in poker losses. Organized crime families embedded in the NFL, and a league scrambling to figure out how to maintain any shred of credibility in an era where the line between sports and gambling has become so blurred it basically doesn't exist anymore. This isn't going away. This is only the beginning. Because if the FBI found this much with one investigation focused primarily on poker games and a handful of suspicious prop bets, how much more is out there that hasn't been uncovered yet? How many other players are deleting messages right now? How many coaches are calling lawyers? How many team personnel are wondering if they're about to get a knock on their door from federal agents? The paranoia in NFL locker rooms right now must be absolutely off the charts. Nobody knows who the 30 are. Could be a guy on your team. Could be your position coach. Could be someone you've worked with for years. And until those names come out, everyone's a suspect. So here's my question for you. Do you still trust what you're watching on Sunday? When a player goes down with an injury in the second quarter, do you believe it's real? Or are you going to wonder if someone just made a fortune on his unders? When a coach makes a bizarre play call that costs his team the game, is it incompetence? Or something else? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you think the NFL can survive this, or if we're watching the beginning of the end of football as we know it. And here's the big one. When those 30 names finally drop, who do you think is on that list? Which players have had suspicious performances over the past 2 years that suddenly make sense now? If you want to be the first to know when those names get unsealed, if you want every update as this story develops, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because I promise you, this is just the tip of the iceberg. More names are coming. More arrests are coming. And the truth? The truth is going to burn the entire NFL to the ground. This is the biggest scandal in sports history, and we're watching it unfold in real time. Don't miss a second of it.